Our next speaker is Mike Whale. Mike Whale is the branch secretary of the NUT. Mike.
All right.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Joe. And thanks particularly to Unison, who have played a major role in organising not just this lobby, but the magnificent demonstration that went through the streets of Hull earlier today.
Yay!
The biggest demonstration that Hull has seen in decades. And I think it's just the start as far as the fight back against this government and against this council that is imposing on the poorest city in the country staggering cuts which will have an absolutely devastating effect on the poor and the vulnerable within this city. I represent teachers and I see every day in school the effect of poverty on the ability of our kids to learn. I see the fact, a lack of diet, a lack of a cultural diet in terms of education for those kids. And it's not surprising, faced with those conditions, that Hull is at the bottom of the league tables as far as attainment is concerned. What is the Liberal Democrats' response to this situation? Close museums, close libraries, attack the music service for our kids. It's an absolute disgrace that when a city where 1 in 5 of our young people live in poverty, as has already been said, that more cuts on top of that are being imposed upon them. At the same time, we see within schools as well, many schools now, redundancies are taking place. We should have a position of no redundancies in schools and no redundancies in the authority.
Yay!
If there's teachers that are spare, if there are support staff that are spare, then let's have smaller class sizes.
Yay!
So that we can give our kids the education that the children of the cabinet get, the children of the ruling class.
Not the girls in the voluntary sector!
This demonstration is part of a wave of demonstrations which is taking place around the country against the cuts. And we should take strength from the fact that not only are we not isolated in Hull, we're not isolated throughout this country. And I would go beyond this country. We're not isolated around the world, because it can't have escaped anyone here the fact that in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Libya, across the Arab world, the masses are rising up against dictators and corrupt regimes. And you may think that that's a bit of a remote link to what is going on in Hull in a battle against the cuts. In my view, it's directly linked to our struggle, because the same banks that got us in this economic mess in the first place are the banks that are propping up these corrupt Arab regimes. Our struggle is the struggle of the Arab masses. One of the things, though, that has been kept quiet from the media is that it's not just the Arab world that is starting to fight back. In the heartland of the free market, America, there are public sector general strikes taking place in many of the states. Teachers, civil servants, public sector workers are taking strike action, and actually they're fighting against the government, state governments that are trying to destroy trade unions. So we should not see ourselves as isolated in Hull, but part of a mass struggle. However, we do have to address what is going on in Hull. We do have to look at what the situation is in Hull. This government has robbed £80 million from this city. That's the extent of the cuts. They've robbed £80 million out of the pockets of local people in this city. And we need to say absolutely clearly that we will fight to get that money back. We will continue with this campaign to get that money back. This demonstration is not the end. It's a start. Mention has been made of May the 5th, but I would go beyond that. We need to take a campaign out into the communities, out into the private sector workplaces as well, and we need to get them on board for a mass campaign of protest to return the £80 million. Because I, like many, want to see a change in the council at May. But whatever party is in power, if £80 million worth of cuts is imposed, then somehow that £80 million will have to be imposed. And therefore, I think it's about the politicians, and I'm really pleased to see Carl Turner, Diane Johnson here. We want to lead from you, to be leading the unions, to be leading the council and the councillors with a community-based campaign as well, to return that money to this city. As far as the unions are concerned, I believe we have to consider taking industrial action. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to have the job losses that the Liberals are imposing. We can't just wait until May the 5th and do nothing. We have to prepare for action now. And actually, the industrial action in the authority will link together with the electoral campaign in May the 5th to ensure we get not only a change in regime, but a council that is prepared to genuinely defend and fight for our interests. Thank you very much.